Hello everybody and welcome to another live research video, the first in over a week after a nice break in the UFC schedule. In today's video we will be taking a deep dive into the UFC Washington fight between Billy Quarantillo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Chris Fishgold. Billy Quarantillo making his UFC debut, but of course this is not the first time that we have ran into this guy. He has appeared on both Dana White's Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter Season 22. So many of you will be familiar with Quarantillo. In fact, I'm just going to call him Billy or this video is going to get out of control. But this is a very interesting fight for betting, and I'm looking forward to taking a deep dive into this matchup with all of you guys. Now, if you are watching this video after the fact, of course this is live streaming on Twitch, but if you are watching this after the fact on YouTube, I would like to do a business deal with you. Now, next week, we have absolutely no major MMA events. We have no UFC, no Bellator, no KSW, nothing like that. So I'm using that opportunity to have a nice week away with the family. We're going to be visiting Paris for the week. So if you want me to drop a breakdown video for the main event of UFC Washington between Alistair Overeem and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, as well as a couple more interesting fights in a breakdown video, hit the like button on this video, and if this video gets 300 likes before Monday night at around 10 p.m, this video gets 300 likes before Monday night 10 p.m. UK time, I will drop a breakdown video for Overeem Rozenstruik before I head off to Paris on Tuesday. But the like target must be reached by 10 p.m. UK time on Monday night, because of course when I'm in Paris next week I won't have any ability to produce videos. So that is the business deal, guys. Hit the like button right now if you want that breakdown. I'll do Rozenstruik, Overeem and two more interesting fights, and hopefully we will be able to dig up some interesting bets. But even more importantly, I am hoping that we can dig up some interesting bets on this fight, because I've already watched a good number of the matchups from Quarantillo and Fishgold, and it's such an interesting fight for betting. I've already got some strong feelings on it based on the fights that I've already watched, but I want to just watch a few more fights of Quarantillo with you guys, and then I can kind of really make my mind up on this one and decide what I'm going to do with it. So what we will do first of all, we will look into potential X factors on this matchup. Then we will, I'll basically give you a brief overview of what I found from the matchups that I've already watched from both these boys. And then we will jump into watching some of Quarantillo's recent fights, because of course, he has been competing outside the UFC, which means there's a lot of footage available of him online. So we will now, let's just say, if you are watching this live on Twitch, please don't be shy. Any questions you have along the way, any comments you have, please drop it in the live chat and I will get to them as we go. And also you can see the lovely Christmas tree behind us. What do you think of that, guys? Thought we will get festive. Merry Christmas to all of you. We also have Christmas Yoda, Christmas Deadpool, Christmas Chewbacca, and my personal favourite, we have Christmas Groot. Not sure if we can see that. I might actually have messed the camera up. We're going to have to see. Oh no, can you get in like a nice little look? There's Christmas Groot. There he is, my personal favourite. In actual fact, let's give you a close-up of all these guys. Here is Christmas Chewbacca. What do you think about him, guys? Leave a comment below and let me know what your favourite is. This is Christmas Deadpool. Probably the one with the least character out of all of them. He's just holding some candy canes. There is Christmas Deadpool right there. And then my mum actually bought me Christmas Yoda yesterday. She brought this round. I was very happy. Christmas Yoda. There he is. So yes, there are our very geeky figures, and I am probably going to go to Disneyland at some point next week. So who knows? Might come back with a few more. By the time you see me on another video when I get back, might have a few more characters here. But anyway, that little bit of rambling on about Christmas should have given Twitch a little bit of time to fill up. Looks like it has. We got some more viewers in there now. And yeah, let's get into this fight. So first of all, X factors. First X factor to take into consideration is quite obviously that this is Billy Quarantillo's UFC debut, and I know I'm butchering that name. I'm very, very sorry. We'll just call him Billy. Billy is making his UFC debut. He's not on short notice or anything like that. No, he is he should be coming in this fight on a full camp. Billy making his UFC debut, and as we know, octagon jitters are a real thing, and a big percentage of fighters lose when they make their UFC debut. So that's something you've always got to bear in mind when you're thinking about betting on a debutant. Now, another thing with Billy is maybe the octagon jitters won't play as big of a factor into Billy's performance as perhaps someone else that's fresh into the UFC coming from a different promotion, because of course Billy does have a bit of experience with the UFC and the way they do things, competing on the Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter. So, you know, I'm sure you'll be a little bit better prepared than a lot of debutants. That's the first X factor out of the way. And to be fair, that might be the only X factor that, like I say, that both these guys are coming on a full camp. We can look at their Instagram profiles to kind of gain some understanding of what their build up, what their preparation's been like. If we look at Fishgold, he trains at Next Gen MMA in Liverpool with guys like Paddy Pimblett. And we can see, looks like he is still training here. This is a picture from October 10th. It's a picture in Next Generation from November 1st. Here's a video from October 25th. All good, all good. So yes, Fishgold trains in Liverpool at Next Gen. Billy Quarantillo, let's give Billy a little follow on Instagram. He seems like a bit of a nomad. Looking back through Billy's profile, he has lots of training pictures with lots of different camps. Here we can see him with Ray Longo in New York City. Here we can see him with, don't actually recognize anyone in that picture, but here we can see him with Matt Frivola, trains in New York. And then if we scroll further down, here he is with Faraz Sahabi. If we scroll down further again, here he is with Matt Frivola, so that's New York. And if we keep going down, you will see him training at various different gyms. We keep scrolling. Where's this? Who do we recognize in this picture? Absolutely no one, to be fair. Absolutely no one. We keep scrolling. I'm just trying to make the point that he does kind of hop all over the place, train at different places. But maybe not. I know he was at Team Alpha Male for a while as well. Although might have to scroll back. I might have to scroll down really, really far to see those training pictures. But anyway, that's Billy Quarantillo. So, I guess before we go into breaking down this fight, we should talk a little bit about what I've discovered from the fights that I've already watched. So, the fights that I've watched as part of this research process, I've watched these fights from Fishgold, so his last 5, which didn't take very long, because his last 4 fights have all ended inside the distance. Let me just clean my glasses, because there is something on them that is causing me absolute murder. There we go, that's better. So yeah, watched Fishgold's last 5 fights. Didn't want to go any further back than that, because, you know, these fights ended very quickly, and of course, you know, with Fishgold being quite young at 27 years old, he's going to be making big improvements from fight to fight. There's no point in watching his fights from, you know, this far back, really, because at the end of the day, he's going to have improved so much at that age, you know, in the last 3 years. But I did want to watch this fight from back in 2016, just because it was a 5-round title fight, and of course, you know, Fishgold's previous 4 fights ended so quickly. I wanted to see how Fishgold look in a 5-round title fight, because obviously one of the big question marks over Fishgold has been his cardio. So this was obviously a perfect fight to watch, to kind of gain an impression of his cardio. Really, really good matchup to watch. And then from Quarantillo, the only fight that I have seen of his is his recent fight against Kamuela Kirk from July at the Contender Series. Now, based on what I've seen so far, this is such an easy match. Definitely not an easy matchup. This one's complicated as fuck. This is a very interesting matchup, because both these guys have huge, and I mean fucking huge, weaknesses that the other person just so happens to be very well positioned to exploit. So the big weakness that Fishgold has got is that he has really bad cardio, and you know, sometimes you'll hear me say it might look like a fighter's got bad cardio, but they actually don't. They have bad pacing. Fishgold just straight up has bad cardio. And you can see this for yourself, because when you watch Fishgold fight, as soon as you force him to exert any amount of energy, you will see his output and his cardio fall off a cliff. Even in fights that he wins, you can see that as soon as you make him exert energy, he really becomes sloppy, a lot less technical, and starts to show lots of signs of laboured body movement, things like that. Now, Fishgold is trying to deal with this, I guess, in two different ways. So whenever you watch Fishgold during fight week, he always says the same thing. He'll talk about his diet, he'll talk about his weight cut, he'll talk about his preparation and training, and he'll be quite open about the fact that his cardio has let him down in the past, but he'll talk about, learning from his mistakes, having a better weight cut, etc, etc. And Fishgold will always tell you that he's made loads of changes in his camp, and coming into this new fight, his cardio is going to look better than ever. His cardio won't be an issue, and it always is. I always say to people, if you spend time in the chat room on my website, I'll always say to people, don't really pay any attention to the stuff that guys say in fight week interviews. Fighters will tell themselves what they need to tell themselves to psych themselves up and make themselves believe that they're ready for a fight and they're well prepared. But Fishgold is a great example of how often a fighter will say something and then it just won't materialise, because he so frequently says his cardio issues are behind him, and they always cost him. You could go back and watch his last fight against Makwan Amirkhani and say, well, he didn't gas out in that fight, and to be fair, he didn't. But if you actually study that fight and take a look at what's gone on, there's 2 fouls in that fight, in addition to the gap in between the first and second round, which gave Fishgold additional time to catch his breath in that fight. Also, we know Makwan is a fighter that slows down as the fight progresses, so he wasn't particularly pushing a very high pace either. And if you watch, Fishgold's fight against Makwan, you'll also see that he wasn't initiating grappling exchanges, because I personally feel that was because he didn't feel confident in his grappling, not in his grappling. He didn't feel confident in his cardio. He didn't feel confident that if he got into tons of high-paced grappling exchanges, his cardio would be able to hold up. And also, when you look at Fishgold striking in that fight, he was very passive, very single shot fighter. Didn't really throw any combinations or anything like that. Of course, as soon as he let his hands go against Cater, it cost him in a big way, because he adrenaline dumped and gassed out. So the huge Achilles heel in Fishgold's skill set is his cardio. Doesn't have cardio to fight at a high pace for 3 rounds, and that makes this a potentially horrendously bad matchup against Billy Quarantillo. Because if you are not familiar with Billy's style of fighting, if you've never seen him fight before, look, I might end up sounding stupid for saying this. It might be a bad comparison, because I've only watched one of his fights. But based on this fight against Kamuela Kirk, I would say that if I was going to compare Billy to anyone that I've seen, he has a very Nate Diaz style of fighting. And what I mean by that is just fucking relentless. Cardio for days, extremely tough. Just comes forward, puts on a relentless pace, and just looks to break his opponents down with volume. And he's a pretty good boxer as well. Now, there are 2 aspects to Billy's style which make this actually, call it 3 aspects. There are 3 potential aspects to Billy's style of fighting which could cause Fishgold major problems. The first issue is that Billy's a very good boxer, throws a very high volume of strikes per round, and one of the things that I love that Billy does that you don't really see that many fighters do in the UFC, Billy goes to the body a lot. He works the body with loads of hooks to the body, hard hooks to the body, does a great job of beating up the body, and of course that's significant in this matchup, because Chris Fishgold has questionable cardio, and of course if you go to the body, that's going to accelerate the rate at which Fishgold could slow down. So that's the first thing to pay attention to. The second thing that Billy kind of brings to the table, which could cause Fishgold a big problem, is that he never stops working. Like I say, this guy fights at a relentless pace. Wherever this fight takes place, whether it's in the clinch, on the ground, standing up, Fishgold will be forced to work. There's going to be none of this attempting to pace himself like he did in his last fight against Makwan, where he was throwing single shots and he wasn't wasn't shooting or initiating grappling exchanges in order to try and pace off. There's none of that. Billy's going to be in his face, forcing him to work flat out for the entire duration of this fight. Absolutely no doubt about it. And the third thing, which I guess is the same as the second thing, but bring it up anyway. The third thing that Billy does, which poses a big threat to Fishgold, is a strength and also a weakness. Now, what is Fishgold's biggest strength? Fishgold's biggest strength is obviously the fact that he's a very strong wrestler. Now, unfortunately, where I was comparing Billy's style of fighting to Nate Diaz, what is Nate Diaz? One of Nate Diaz's biggest weaknesses? Well, Nate Diaz has horrible takedown defense. Very, very bad takedown defense. And unfortunately, so does Billy. A strong gust of wind is enough to take Billy down. I have seen Scarecrow with better takedown defense than Billy Quarantillo. However, when Billy is on his back, just like Nate Diaz, he is extremely active. This guy is not very good at working his way back to his feet. He is not very good at really doing anything off his back, to be honest. But he won't stay still. He's constantly throwing strikes off his back, constantly trying to improve position, and he's constantly forcing his opponent who's on top to work to maintain that position. And that's very significant in this matchup because Chris Fishgold can take Billy Quarantillo down 1,000 times quite easily. There's nothing Billy can do to stop Fishgold from taking him down. Billy's takedown defense is atrocious. It is so bad. Fishgold can put him on his back, no problem. But the significant thing about this matchup is that there's no breaks on the ground for Fishgold when he gets there because of how offensive off his back Billy is. And while in the fight against Kamwela Kirk, Billy didn't look particularly dangerous off his back in that he wasn't really doing a very good job of creating opportunities to hit a reversal or a sweep or trap his opponent in a submission, anything like that. He was forcing his opponent to work from top position, and we have seen Fishgold give up position when on top very frequently. He's done it against both Makwan and Daniel Tamor, and frequently in the Nick Heron-Webb fight, even though it was all the way back in 2016. But we have seen that weakness rear its head again in the Tamor and Amakani fights. So it's a very interesting matchup because both these guys have massive holes in their game. Massive. Fishgold's cardio, Quarantillo's takedown defense. And it just so happens the strengths of both guys exploit each other's weaknesses because Billy's got cardio for days, he's constantly working, high output fighter, whereas Fishgold happens to be a strong wrestler. So it's amazing matchmaking. It is amazing matchmaking. And based on the footage that I've watched so far, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know that Fishgold's a bad bet. We can definitely say that. We can definitely say that. I don't need to watch these three fights. We're going to watch... I don't need to watch these three fights we're going to watch from Billy now together to know that Fishgold's a bad bet. He is a bad bet. Because if you look at the current odds, Fishgold's currently around, call it an average of 1.60, which is minus 167 for an implied probability of 63%. So you've got to cap Fishgold up into the 67 to 68% range to get any value here, and you can't do that. That's a huge probability to assign a fighter that essentially has only got cardio for one round if you make him work really hard. So the real question in this breakdown, well, it's not even a breakdown, is it? It's a live research video. We're all doing this together on Twitch. The main question we have to answer here is Quarantillo worth a bet? Is there value on Quarantillo? If we look, you can get him at around 2.50 on some sites, but his average odds at the moment on most sites going to be around about 2.40, which is plus 140 for an implied probability of 42%. So to get value on this fight, you'd want to be capping this as roughly a 50-50 fight, and it's a hard one. It's a hard one to cap. It is a hard one to cap because if you bet Billy, based on what I've seen, you're going to sweat here. You are going to sweat for your money. This is not going to be an easy winner, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? At the end of the day, all you can do is put your money in strong positions and hope for the best. And Billy really might be a strong position. He might make you sweat for your money. It might be a horrendous performance. He might get taken down 100 times. But at underdog odds, it's quite likely actually that that he makes Fishgold exert a lot of energy in round 1, and then Fishgold becomes extremely gassed in round 2 and 3. But what we are going to do before we go into watching some of Quarantillo's past fights, so that hopefully he will show you some of the qualities that I've just been mentioning, we will go and catch up on the questions on Twitch. Thank you, Paul Hardy, for subscribing with Twitch Prime, dude. I really, really appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. Shawnee B is saying he was researching Quarantillo today. What did you find, dude? What do you think? Let me know. Let me know. Quastradamus is saying off topic, early thoughts on Max versus Volk. I'm sorry, dude. I haven't researched that fight yet. Long Harry saying, Allsop is back. Let's finish this year strong. Yes, mate. Hoping to bash out a few videos before I head off to Paris for a week. If you do want that breakdown between Overeem and Rosenstruck, hit the like button on YouTube, guys. We need 300 likes, and I will drop that before I leave on Tuesday. Alright, and everyone just talking about the fight between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. Alright then, let's get into watching some recent fights from Billy. So the first fight we're going to watch is from February of this year against Adrian Villaca. You know what? Shawnee just said in the live chat on Twitch that he's basically fully researched Quarantillo and that his takedown defense didn't look that bad. So, maybe this was just an off night. Maybe he was injured or something. I don't know. His takedown defense was very bad. Like really, really. Think of someone in the UFC with terrible takedown defense. Put them in your head. That's what Billy's takedown defense looks like. So maybe it was just an off night for him. Though I'm hoping to see better takedown defense from him in the fights we're going to watch now. Because if Billy has got reasonably good takedown defense, he's going to be worth a bet, because for all the reasons I've just discussed. So let's take a look. This is Adrian Villaca against Billy Quarantillo from February of this year, and Billy is in the red gloves. Now, of course, whenever I make statements on these videos, people always take them so literally, and I always wonder if it's because maybe it's from people in different countries that don't understand the English language as good, so maybe they can't pick up on maybe they just can't pick up on my tone, or just like kind of my intentions for the things I'm saying. So when earlier on in this live stream I said that Billy Quarantillo has a Nate Diaz style of fighting, don't think about this guy. Don't watch this and be like, oh my god, he looks nothing like Diaz. Don't think of it like that. The point I'm trying to make is Billy's strengths are the same as Nate's strengths. You know, fights at a high pace, very tough, decent boxing. But his weaknesses are also like Diaz. You know, poor takedown defense, weak off his back, pretty one-dimensional, that kind of thing. So don't think, oh, you know, this guy looks nothing like Diaz. What is he talking about? I'm talking about strengths and weaknesses. You kind of gotta open your mind up and not try and take everything I say super literally. But Billy is looking quite sloppy here early, to be honest with you. Not as fluid as he did in his last fight in the Contender series that I watched of his. And of course, Fishgold is a big, strong, powerful unit. But thing is, with a guy like Quarantillo, same with a guy like Nate Diaz, he got called a very nice lead left hook there. Same thing with Diaz, really. Takes him a while to get going, is a bit of a slow starter. And we saw that in his Contender series fight, where he looked really, really bad actually in round 1. And then in the second and third, just put a crazy pace on his opponent and just broke him with pressure and boxing. It's quite beautiful to watch, actually. It was very, very nice. So here we're getting to see a little bit of Billy's clinch game. We got Villaca tying him up in the clinch. Billy's gone to the body lock. What can he get going from here? He's going for a judo throw. He's got the body lock. He gives up on it. Will we see a little bit of his takedown defense tested here, though? His opponent's got his hands connected together on a body lock. And decent balance from Billy, although His opponent didn't really do a very good job of shifting his body weight there to try and catch Billy off balance and complete that takedown. He's not doing a very good job of it here either. It doesn't really tell us too much about Billy's takedown defense because his opponent isn't really shifting his body weight correctly to complete that body lock takedown. So bit disappointing in that. Oh, nice one, Lidosis as well, dude, for subscribing on Twitch Prime. No need to do that though, man. Lidosis gives me a lot of money every month. He is one of my elite members. Oh no, sorry, he's not. He's a bot. I won't go into all that again. This will get very boring. But yeah, thank you very much, Lidosis, dude. Thank you very much, dude. I mean, we are seeing Billy's, Billy in this grappling exchange. Oh, his opponent's going on a very deep double leg here. Billy should be going for a ride. He isn't. Wow. It wasn't the best camera angle to see how deep Villica got in on his hips there, but it looked like he got in really fucking deep. But it's difficult again. It can't be 100% sure because of the camera angle. Now, his opponent looks to be slowing down a little bit here, taking some deep breaths, showing some laboured movement. Shoots a very predictable takedown entry there above Billy's hip height. Billy's able to clear his legs and get away from. Now, Billy in on a takedown here. Wow, drags his opponent's legs away from the cage. Now, ironically, Fishgold is one of these guys that is very good at being the hammer, not so good at being the nail. He is very good from top position when he is dictating where the fight takes place, but Fishgold's one of these grapplers that is not comfortable at all on his back, very, very weak on his back. So interesting here how Billy is showing some wrestling, because in his last fight on the Contender Series, like I say, his takedown defense was really bad, and really, really bad. And Gucci Sniper just asking if Fishgold's experience plays a big factor in this fight. No, I wouldn't, dude. Do you know what? I actually think Fishgold is quite inexperienced, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we look at Fishgold, he's only 27 years old, and, I'm not going to fire shots at anyone. I don't like to criticize anyone, but Chris Fishgold's manager is the owner of Cage Warriors, and if we look at his record, you can see that, if you look at the records of the guys that Fishgold's been fighting in Cage Warriors, hasn't been fighting the highest level of opponent in Cage Warriors, to be real. All I will say is, on paper, it might look like Fishgold's got a lot of experience with 21 pro fights, but at 27 years old, his record is extremely padded. He's managed by the guy that owns Cage Warriors. They give him very, very favourable matchups, and I would actually argue that Billy is possibly the more experienced fighter. He's a few years older at 30 years old. He's trained at some of the best gyms in the United States, whereas Chris Fishgold's only ever trained at Next Generation MMA. Spent a bit of time at Phuket Top Team, but predominantly Next Generation. So with Billy having 14 pro fights, competing in multiple different organizations, being on the Ultimate Fighter, being on the Contender Series, I'd actually argue that Billy is more experienced than Chris Fishgold as a whole. So I don't think that will play a factor, dude. So this is good. We're actually getting to see a little bit of Billy's top game here. Looks like he knows what he's doing at least. Looking to pass guard over into half guard, but didn't get it, and looks like he's going to run out of time. 20 seconds before the end of the round. So Alien Fungi, we covered what gym Billy trains at the beginning of the video, so when it goes up on YouTube, you might want to have a look back at that, but just go over it quickly. He has trained basically everywhere. He's done a lot of traveling. He's traveled all over the United States, bit of a nomad, trained at loads of different gyms across the United States. At the moment, it looks like he's training with Ray Longo and Matt Frivola in New York, but has trained lots of gyms in the past. I know he was at Alpha Male for a little bit. But yeah, we scanned through his Instagram at the beginning of this video. And I might actually do another live stream after this if you're up for it, guys. I want to take a look at that Mahmoud Muradov fight against Trevor Smith. So if you want me to do that, guys, let me know in the live chat on Twitch. And after we're done on this fight, we can jump right into that one if you guys are up for it, rather than just doing the one fight tonight. So Billy looked quite sloppy standing up in the first round. Okay, his opponent went to shoot a double leg there, committed more to it than his double leg shot in the first round. You know, Billy's takedown defense not looking as bad as it did in his Contender Series fight. You know, doing a good job of creating a nice wide base here. Go into the body lock, very, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. Indeed. I am liking what I'm seeing from Billy here, you know. Nice one, Taz. Cheers, dude. Oh, Lee Dosis, man. Lee Dosis. I will... nice one, Hiltz. Nice one, Gucci. I will... Lee Dosis. I'm going to try and put a bet out for that Holloway-Volkanovski fight by the time I go to Paris, man. Which is one of the reasons why I don't really want to talk too much about it in this live stream. I don't want to move the odds or anything, although the odds have been out for a long time now, so liquidity is pretty fucking good. But I wouldn't want to talk about it too much without researching it anyway. But I'm worried that when I go to Paris, I'm worried the internet in the hotel will be shit, because you guys know it's like whenever you're traveling anywhere, you can never predict what the quality of internet is going to be like. So I'm worried that the odds will start to move in a big way while I'm over there. So I'd rather just get a bet out now before I go, in case the odds get absolutely smashed. I don't think they will. But yeah, we'll go into that Muradov fight after this then. Billy is looking a hell of a lot better than... actually, that's not the right thing to say. Billy's striking is looking a lot worse than it did in his Contender Series fight, but his wrestling's looking a lot better, which is encouraging. Which is very encouraging. You know, he's in half guard here, looking pretty heavy from top position, but then his opponent's just trying to hold on to him and pray for a stand-up. So difficult to say, really, although Fishgold's not great off his back either, so difficult to say. And I mean, let's be real, Matt Fravola's a much better fighter than Chris Fishgold, so, you know, Quarantillo being in the gym every day with a strong wrestler like Fravola, it's a decent training partner, man, and I would guess that Fravola's getting some time in training with the guys at Nick Catone's gym. Actually, advanced the mount there. Very, very nice. How the fuck does he get mount from here? Like, Villica's in no real danger of being mounted here. Oh, he is now. Wow, okay. So, Villica made a huge mistake there. He wasn't in any danger of being mounted because he kept his left side tight to the cage, which meant there was no space for Billy to be able to get in, get his left leg over in the mount. But the big mistake that the Villica made was allowing Billy to just move him slightly away from the cage and create space. Now you can see Billy actually showing a very educated top game. Because oh shit, sorry guys, sorry. Facebook suddenly decided to throw volume on. I just want to actually break down what's going on here, because you guys might find this interesting. I'll just do a little bit of a breakdown on what's happening, because this actually shows us that Quarantillo knows what he's doing from top position. So, at the moment, it's very difficult for Quarantillo to get mount here, because where you see Villica sat up with his back against the cage, he can easily keep his legs up high, and even if Quarantillo is able to advance into mount, you just see him in that Khabib position where you're gonna have Villica sat up, you're gonna have Quarantillo sat on top of him, but there's not a lot of space for Quarantillo to posture up and do much damage with ground and pound. You know, he can't flatten him out and start raining down ground and pound and forcing Villica to give his back up and look for the rear naked choke. Villica's not really in any danger here. But what Quarantillo does, which is really, really nice, notice how here Quarantillo is working to the left side of Villica. Because at the moment, the cage is the only thing protecting Villica from Quarantillo being able to flatten his shoulders out on the canvas and establish a dominant position. So notice how Quarantillo's moving to his left, which is going to be Villica's right. And he's doing this because he wants to get in between Villica and the cage so that Villica can no longer use the cage to defend himself. And we can't see from this camera angle, but you will notice what Quarantillo's trying to do is feed his left arm around the back of Villica to get it in between the cage and Villica so that he can start to try and move from the right side, because you see at the moment he's on the right side and he wants to move over to the left side to get his body in between the cage and Villica, so that the cage is no longer a tool for him, and that's ultimately where Mount comes from. But you can see at the moment Quarantillo's playing with a little bit of flim-flam. He's kind of trying to mislead Villica a little bit and threaten him, with this half guard position. He's got Villica worrying about being mounted here. It's why Villica's keeping his right leg up high. He's worrying about Mount. He's messing around with passing over into half guard here. So at the moment, you can see Villica's attention is completely on this half guard position. You can see, fighting hands here, and you can see, Villica pushing down on the head, but he's completely forgotten about what Quarantillo's left hand is doing, which is, of course, trying to get around the back. And then look what happens very, very nicely in that little sequence, that little exchange. Villica completely forgot to pay attention to what Quarantillo's left hand was doing. And what was he doing? Of course, the half guard was just bait. Quarantillo had absolutely no interest in that. What he was trying to do was establish a very, very nice grip around the back of Villica so that he could now connect his hands together to drag him away from the cage. Of course, he couldn't previously do that because if you remember at the beginning of this sequence, Villica was sat very, very tight with his back against the cage, which meant that there was no space for Quarantillo to get his hand around the back. But now that Quarantillo's distracted Villica with the half guard, kind of little grappling exchange, a little bit of flim-flam, which didn't really mean anything, Quarantillo is now in a strong position to connect his hands together and drag him away, and he's going to be looking for that. He's kept his left hand in this position. See, you can see it here where the mouse is, and now what does he do? Fuck the half guard on the right side. What do we see Quarantillo do? Now that he's got that left arm in place, that gives him a strong position to now step over to the other side and get his body in between the cage and Villica, and that all comes from the left arm. Notice how he just moves over to the side, and now Villica's in a lot of trouble because he can no longer use the cage to defend himself, from being mounted, having his back taken, pulled away from the cage. He's in a horrible position, and that's how he gets mounted. So very, very weak off his back. Villica's looking very, very weak off his back, very naive. He should have tried to keep his back tight to that cage like it was a magnet. But what this grappling exchange is doing is showing that despite Quarantillo looking really, really average when it comes to grappling in his last fight in the Contender Series, actually showing he knows what he's doing, is the point I'm trying to make. And of course, when you train at some of the gyms that this guy is trained at, is no surprise. And I'm actually quite liking what I'm seeing from Quarantillo here. Not looking that heavy from top position, if I'm honest. He is allowing Villica to move around a lot. He's giving him a lot of space to improve his position, but he is looking quite educated on the ground. And here we can see him taking the back and beautiful. He tried to transition into mount there, but it was actually a very nice scramble from Villica to defend against that. Quarantillo is looking better here than I expected. Like I say, Villica, you can tell Villica is very, very weak off his back. But at least Quarantillo, despite the fact that he's got bad takedown defense, at least he is showing that he knows what to do on the ground. And that's significant because Chris Fishgold is a reasonably technical grappler, a very, very strong grappler, a very beautiful pass guard there into side control from Quarantillo. But Quarantillo showing that he knows what he should be doing on the ground is a very, very good sign. I am quite impressed. Oh, Craig O'Mac, nice one, dude. Craig, who are you, dude? Who are you, mate? Or DM me or something on the website. Let me know if I guess, and I know you, dude, if you know me, so it'd be cool to catch up, dude. Nice one, Craig O'Mac. But yeah, man, it's nice to see Quarantillo show that he knows what he's doing. He's showing very loosey-goosey control. I mean, even here, a more explosive grappler would be able to explode out of that position. Those hooks were quite loose. Quarantillo gets a stoppage against a low-level guy, but Quarantillo showing that he knows what he's doing. Which is pretty cool to see. Not a complete write-off. I was expecting his grappling to be a complete write-off from his last fight against Camilo Kirk, but not actually that bad at all. Right, let's go in and watch another fight This is going to be Quarantillo against Eric Reynolds. So this is from back in August 2017, a while back. Wow, so Quarantillo was inactive for quite a long time. Looks like he took about a year off, or more than a year off. Not far off 18 months. Wonder why he took so much time off. Very interesting. Anyway, let's watch this fight and see where we get to go in here. So remember, this was 2 years ago, so you would have expected Quarantillo to have improved a bit since then. What is interesting about Quarantillo is that his striking looked worse in that previous fight we just watched than it did on the Contender Series, but his grappling looked better, which is a bit strange. And wow, so he's initiating the wrestling here. Not what I expected after watching his Contender Series fight. This is a bit of a mindfuck. This is not what I expected at all. Very nice deep double leg takedown entry there. This fight's complicated now, guys. This fight is a complicated one because Billy coming out looking like a grappler, but just like with his last fight, obviously doesn't have the heaviest target. Oh my god. Vicious right hand there. That looked like he was under the chin. Didn't get his hooks in, but it didn't matter. Couldn't get his hooks in, actually. His opponent did a good job of defending against the hooks. Quarantillo. I thought Quarantillo was a striker because of his Contender Series fight. It was all boxing. But it appears Quarantillo knows what he's doing on the ground as well. That's why research is important, right? I would have called Quarantillo a striker before watching these last two fights. Right, let's watch another one. This is against Ryan Fillingame from February 2017. So remember, this is over 2 years ago now. Interesting fight. Yes, Gucci. Interesting, man. Not what I expected. Nice inside leg kick there from Billy. So I will say Billy's striking defense looks a little bit ropey. We've seen him eat quite a few clean, hard shots in these last three fights, which is a bit of a concern because Fishgold does hit like a truck. So Lee Dose is bringing up a really good point. The fighters are more likely to stand and bang on the Contender Series because the scumbag Dana just wants people to brawl for that UFC contract. That's a good point, man. I didn't think about that. Maybe Billy felt that he needed to put on an exciting fight to get into the UFC, and it worked. He got a contract. His striking defense is looking ropey here, though, guys. Not gonna lie. This was 2 years ago, but then we did see him eat a real clean, hard shot in the first fight that we watched from him. So there you see a little bit of his bad takedown defense that I was talking about. I was slating this guy's takedown defense at the beginning of this video, and you haven't seen any evidence of it. That's the first evidence. I mean, really, really poor takedown defense there, but active guard, throwing that triangle up very, very quickly. And this again speaks to a little bit of what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, where even though Quarantillo's got very bad takedown defense, he never stops attacking off his back. Relentless off his back. And he knows what he's doing, man. It is tight. It is tight. He knows what he's doing. And Fishgold is susceptible to being caught in submissions. Like I say, Fishgold, decent grappler, not amazing though. His opponent looks like he's going to slip out here, but Quarantillo looking to use a triangle to transition into an armbar, but his opponent was out. Rolling for a leg now. Doesn't get it though. Very nice. But what's really important about this, if you know Fishgold's style of fighting, just look at what Billy's doing off his back. He's very, very active, right? So the point I'm trying to make at the beginning of the video is that because Billy is so active off his back, he's going to force Fishgold to work really hard to maintain top position, which is going to test Fishgold's super questionable cardio. But, like I said in the beginning of this video, if you bet, you can't bet Fishgold as a favourite because he's only got cardio for one round, and Billy will make him work hard. But if you bet Billy, it's going to be a sweat for sure. Because his takedown defense is bad and Fishgold's a strong wrestler. His striking defense is bad and Fishgold hits hard. I mean, look at that. He didn't get taken down off that because his opponent was too tired. But Billy just basically walked right into a takedown there. Fishgold would have put him on his ass, no problem. Flat-footed, off balance. His opponent was too tired to drive through. But Billy would have walked right through. Billy would have got taken down there. Fishgold would have shot right through there. Nice bio. Cheers, Bioenergetics, for subscribing with Twitch Prime, dude. Thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, alien fungi or fungi or fungi. I'm not sure. I was gonna ask how I should pronounce your name, but you're not gonna be able to tell me. It's just in chat. Nice one, Demon Slate. How you doing, mate? Good to see you, dude. And we're gonna do the Muradov versus Trevor Smith fight after this, right, boys? I know that. I know it looks like a bit of a shit fight to research because Muradov's a big favourite, but I have also already. And there we see more terrible takedown defense from Quarantillo. Very, very bad takedown defense. Right, exactly what we were saying. Yeah, I was going to say Muradov versus Smith might not look like a very good fight for betting, but I think based on my research so far, I think Muradov's free money. So I just want to kind of like cross the T's, dot the I's on that, see if he's worth putting in any parlays and accumulators. We can see Billy very, very weak off his back, very bad takedown defense. I'm glad that you've watched this fight so that you can see a little bit of the weaknesses that I spoke about when it came to Billy at the beginning of this video, because I was quite harsh on him. And as you can see, takedown defense super dodgy, doesn't instill you with much confidence off his back. And even though this fight was 2 years ago, he looked this bad. He looked this bad in his Contender Series fight. He was easily taken down in his Contender Series fight. So this fight is a complicated one, right? Really complicated. What I would say is, the way I'm looking at this at the moment, I'm actually a little bit disappointed in Quarantillo. I expected his takedown defense to be bad. I didn't expect his grappling to be, I'm not going to say is good, but I didn't expect him to, I don't even know what to say. I'm not going to say Quarantillo's grappling's good, but it's better than I thought it would be. What's happening here? But unfortunately, his striking's quite a bit worse than I thought it was. If you go and watch his Contender Series fight, it's on Fight Pass, you guys will see what I mean. But is Billy just a slow starter? Because like I say, he looked bad in his round 1 of his Contender Series fight, and then in round 2 and 3 looked really good. That's where the Diaz comparison came from, but looking pretty slow. I mean, look at the takedown defense. But as you can see again, exactly what I said right at the beginning of the video, very active. Like if Fishgold's on top of this guy, he's going to be constantly working, constantly getting hit from the bottom, constantly having to defend against arm bars and triangles. Billy's very, very active off his back. But that takedown defense, man. Oh, nice one, 144M. Cheers, dude, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much, dude. And by this point, Fishgold's just super tired. He's just holding on to this single leg, hoping that he can just catch his breath, turn the corner, get on top of Billy, and get a break, really. But Billy not letting him do that, doing a good job of clearing his legs, beating the body up. And Fishgold looking super tired. But again, shoddy takedown defense again, because you can see here, you know, Billy's left leg is trapped. His opponent's in on a deep single leg. If his opponent can just turn the corner and drive through, he completes this takedown. So even when Fishgold's completely gassed out of his mind, I mean, even now, all he's got to do is just swivel into top position. Again, just doesn't have the energy to drive through on it. His opponent's completely gassed out of his mind. And I mean, really, Billy is just very, very easy to take down. It's a complicated fight, this one. Very complicated fight. Right, guys, I think this fight's going to get stopped in a minute. I'm pretty sure it ends in round 2 by TKO. Probably actually going to come here. The referee's having a look. So I'm just basically going to summarize how I feel about this fight. So, at the moment, in the eyes of the bookies, this is pretty much a 60-40 fight. I think Quarantillo's odds carry an implied probability of about 42%. Which means you've got to cap him at roughly. I mean, even now with his opponent gassed out of his mind, his opponent's still been able to complete a takedown into side control. It's actually a tough one, you know. It is a tough one. Hey, Salevis, how you doing, mate? This fight, man. This fight is a fucker, really. 60-40 fight in favour of Fishgold in the eyes of the bookies. Fishgold with an implied probability of 63%. Which means you've got to cap him in the 67 to 68% region to get any value. And then you've got Billy Quarantillo, current implied probability of 43%. You've got to cap him at roughly 50% to get any value. I probably agree with that, to be honest. I was quite excited on a potential bet on Quarantillo after watching the first few fights. But now I just don't know, man. I just don't know. The way that I would look at this fight is... Is Fishgold going to gas? I mean, probably. He probably is going to gas. But if Billy's takedown defense is this bad, then it might not matter. Because we saw Fishgold looking extremely tired in this second round. And he was still able to get like 2 or 3 takedowns on Billy Quarantillo. And I guess Fishgold's a hell of a lot better than Fishgold. We know his top game's much heavier, right? We know he's a much more technical grappler. Hits very hard. And also, Fishgold's always talking about what the steps he's taken to improve his cardio. So, even though it hasn't materialised yet, doesn't mean that it won't. And even though his cardio hasn't improved yet, at least he's aware of it being an issue. It's much worse when a fighter has got a huge hole in their game, a huge weakness, and they just turn in a blind eye and pretend it doesn't exist. They're not doing anything to improve it. At least Fishgold is aware of it. So who knows, maybe he could come in on Saturday night with vastly improved cardio. And if Fishgold shows up with good enough cardio to grapple hard for 3 rounds, I've got no doubt in my mind that he'll win. This will be a very easy fight for him because as you've just seen, Billy Quarantillo's got no takedown defense. But it gets complicated because Fishgold being a favourite at the moment, odds are around 1.60. Like I say, that's an implied probability of 63%. You can't cap this guy at close to 70% in the 67, 68% region, which is what you needed to get value. just because of his cardio. You know, if we know, we've just seen Billy's a tough guy, fights at a high pace, creates loads of crazy scrambles, he's aggressive. If he pushes a crazy pace from the very first second, forces Fishgold to work really hard, exert tons of energy in round one and then gasses, you know, it's going to be a rough night for Fishgold, and you wouldn't want to be betting him at these kind of odds when he might gas after round one. But at the same time, if you look at the odds on Quarantillo, which are about 2.40 plus 140, can we really cap this as a 50-50 fight when we know his takedown defense is bad, we know his striking defense is bad, and Fishgold does hit very hard? It's his UFC debut, so octagon jitters could come into play. Very weak off his back. It's a tough one, man. It is definitely a tough one. So personally, I'm not going to bet this fight, actually. I just don't like what I see from either guy, really. I'm going to pass on this one, but you might disagree. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. And if you want that other breakdown video before Tuesday when I head off to Paris, hit the like button below and we'll get a video out for Overeem Rosenstruck. Now, what I am going to do, if you're watching live on Twitch, I'm going to just take 5 minutes out to set up all of Muradov's past fights, and then I'll be back in about 5 minutes with another breakdown or another live research video for the fight between Trevor Smith and Makhmud Muradov to establish if Muradov really is free money, because he is looking like it from the past fights that I've watched. But we'll jump into that one next. So I'll take a quick break now, boys, and I'll be back in like 5-10 minutes, something like that. I'll see you in a sec.